Hello there voltage modular people, Poohbear here and welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be going over my clicky FX effects that I have usually going on in the background of my projects. And the sort of sounds I'm talking about is a simple clave here which will sound something like this. I like the way it speeds up. Just process it slightly differently. Again, another different way. And another way. And of course we can even play around with the pitch and have fun that way as well. The other sound effect I like to play around with a lot happens to be a clap sound, but the clap sound sounds like this, dry. And then obviously I can put a bandpass filter on that. I can obviously then take that and put a gate around it. So there's a subtle difference there. And now this one is actually a weird one because I'm going to put it through a reverb and then I'm going to put a gate on it. But you can't really hear the reverb that much, but it just really makes it pop a lot. The next one is actually going to be a very, very tight gate going through a reverb. And then basic bandpass into a reverb and then the dry signal going through a reverb. So it sounds like that. And there's nothing stopping us taking these sort of things and using something like an in-ram ram to randomly choose their numbers and using something like a storing forward and come up with something rhythmic even. And I'll go through how we can have fun doing all this kind of things, but we'll go right from the very top and we'll go all the way through it. Okay, I've already got the stereo mixer just wired up to the audio out, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm actually going to grab my clave because that's the sound we're actually going to be using. I'm just going to trigger that to start with my trig gate, and in fact, I'll change the colour of that. There we go, and let's plug that in. Let's have a listen. In fact, let's turn it down just a little bit. And we can also play around with the pitch as well. I tend to like to have it a little bit loud for what I'm actually doing. So the next thing I'm actually going to need is my burst control. There we go, let's grab this microburst. That's great, let's bung that in there. And so I'm just going to take the trigger to trigger that to start with, and the output we're going to put into there. So let's actually hear, it's going to turn this up so we've got a few more. So let's hear what that sounds like to start with. Obviously you can make that faster, or sorry, slower, and then faster. Very, very fast indeed. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to leave it on this lovely fast rate, and I'm actually going to push the rate right up. And then I'm actually going to get a gate in here to come in at a very high signal, so it's virtually going to slow this right down. And then as the signal's going along, it's going to drop off, which means it's going to drop this down, which is actually going to speed the burst up. Now, what's important, or what helps a lot, is you've got to work out your rate to the number of bursts to the length of whatever you're going to trigger it with. I'm actually going to be using my precise length AHR to actually be doing this today. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to push it. And so this is actually going to be longer. This gate is actually going to open longer than the number of bursts. And the reason I'm going to do that, it means it's not going to fully drop off. And I'll show you what I mean by that is because then we can play with it and we can actually speed up the end bit of it, or we can slow it down. So what I'm actually going to quickly do now, as I say, I've wired it up there. I'm just going to take this out here. We're going to put that into there. I need to trigger this, so we're just going to grab a wire from here and bung it into there as well. There we go. And I am going to be putting in quite a bit of release, but the release is going to be obviously coming down quite slow, and yeah, that's fine. I won't even really touch the curve. So let's have a listen. And you can hear it going zoop. So if I was to bring the time right down now, it's going to really speed up quickly at the end. Yeah, and if you have say a mid time and you have more bursts, then again it's going to start speeding up very, very quickly at the end. So it's all about sort of getting these sort of things balanced to a sound what pleases your ears. It might be that, hey, I only want it to speed up very, very softly at the end. Yeah, so that's what I like. It might be that you want it to go a lot quicker. In fact, I'll probably have to go right down into my milliseconds there because I was actually into 1 odd second. In fact, I should zoom in, shouldn't I, for you? Sorry, guys. Here we go. You haven't really been missing much. Hey. And then obviously 1 second. Probably, as I say, I think around about a second probably sounding quite nice. with the number of bursts we've got. Yeah, I like that. Now it's all about really adding your effects around the outside of this, really, to be perfectly honest. Now, I do tend to use my radish for when I'm experimenting. It comes in quite handy, so I can take the output from the claves. I'm just going to put it into in number 1, and then I can obviously, well, I can push that straight to that stereo mixer out, so that's going to work as long as I've got that selected. But what I tend to do is, this has got a trigger on change, so I could kind of grab that out and sort of do things. So I might say, hey, I'm going to trigger that into there, and so when I click on a button, I'm triggering this, which is then triggering them two, and then we can do something a bit different. So let's straight away go and grab ourselves a bandpass filter. Where's my bandpass filter? That's at the very top. Let's go and grab that. So I'm going to come out of this port here. So my second one down, let's go that out. It doesn't really matter at this stage if I plug it into that one or if I plug it into its own one, because it's going to be more or less the same. I'm going to push this up. I am going to push the gain up a little bit because we've taken the width down, so we've taken quite a bit of the note away from it. And I'm just going to click on that one there. You can hear how much solider that one is. This is now a lot weaker. And obviously by bringing the width down, you can make it really weak. You probably need a lot more gain for when you're doing things like that. I think you get the idea of where we're going with this. So now I'm going to quickly add myself a reverb. Doesn't look like I've got one set up there. Let's quickly go effects, and I'm going to go to digital reverbs. Let's bring that digital reverb over. I want to hear it in its full glory reverb. So let's put the left and right in, and I'm going to plug this into 2 down. And the reason I'm going to go 2 down, so this is be the dry signal, and here it is with the reverb. A little bit loud. I'll turn that down a bit. But now what I can obviously do, I can actually go and grab myself a copy of a bandpass filter. There we go. I'm going to plug that into number 3 this time, then the output into there. So now 16 will be the bandpass, so that'll be that slightly weaker version. The reason it sped up really quickly there, because that was actually still running as I kicked the button again. And so it done a double burst, so it was going really fast. But there you go. So there's 4 different kind of quick sounds. Just using a simple microburst, going into the claves, and just using obviously my precise AHR to actually speed the microburst up at the end, which I really like. And to be honest, that particular sound there is something I really do like, because it's a little bit narrower rather than leaving it as nice and thick. But as I said, don't forget you can play around with these pitches. And then obviously with the picture of the bandpass, it does sound very, very interesting. You can make it go very deep indeed as well. Hey. So let's actually move on. So for the next sound, I'm actually going to use the clap, and then I'm going to grab myself a radage. So let's grab that one there. And obviously we can do a clap. We're going to go into the in. I'm going to make sure it's actually selected on, and then I'm going to take the output and put it into the mixer. And all we need to do now is obviously have something to activate the clap. So I'm going to pull up one of my trig gates. So gate out to trigger in. And we've got something working. Now, the only other thing I'm going to quickly do now before I forget is we've got this on trigger change. So I'm going to grab that and put that into the gate in. So now it means if I select this button, it's automatically going to fire everything off. Obviously, if I select other buttons, it'll fire that off as well. So first thing I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to grab myself a bandpass filter, because as I say, at the moment, we've got ourselves a box standard clap sound, which is not the sound I like. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the body slapping mix, I'm going to turn that right up, and I'm going to take the slap amount and turn that right up. And I'll get my clunky sound, which I like. I refer to it as my camera kind of click, but it doesn't sound anything like a camera click really. But that's what the sound I'm actually after. That's what I want to work with. Now, when we've got the body slap full, when the slap amount are full, the tone makes no difference at all. You can sort of play around with this tone, and you can hear it's just not changing anything. So this is where our bandpass filter is going to come in handy. So let's quickly grab that and wire that up very, very quickly, straight away. Bit quiet, so I'm just going to give it a bit more width, give it a bit more gain, might give it a little bit more frequency. And this is all you start doing. You start playing around, but I do obviously find tuning this in makes a lot of difference. But as you can hear, we've already got two different sounds there going for starters. I might actually say, hey, I'm going to make a copy of that. So I'm going to hold down my Alt key, which I believe is the Option key on the Mac. And I can make a copy of that. And then I'm going to take the next output and put it into the input of the bandpass filter. But I'm actually going to nick myself a reverb, again, using the Alt or the Option key. I can make a copy of that. I'm going to take the output, put that into there. And I'm going to take this left and right and give myself a nice stereo field. So this time, that's what I think I like. I have to have a bigger room, which is going to be too big. So we just bring the wet dry down, and I think we get a nice. That's about right. And let's just do a very, very quick basic one of let's have it raw, shall we? So let's have it going. Let's have a think. I'm going to have it going through the reverb this time, very quickness. Then I'm going to have it coming back through the bandpass filter. We can have it going that way. And I was going to just very, very quickly say one more and make this a dirty one. So let's go input. And that can be the raw, what I refer to as the raw. So we're only just changing the sound here. So we're going to bring that sound all the way through and out and through via reverb. So as you can hear, we've got ourselves several little sort of sounds going. Now you may look at Radish and say, look, it's numbered between going from 0 to 1 across the top, and we're obviously playing things going down the edge. We can change the layout from an A to a B. So as soon as we go to B, we've got our numbers down the edge. And the reason this is semi-important, because obviously we can put a signal into here, and obviously as the voltage goes up, it's going to start going down this way. So the thing I'm going to quickly grab, I'm going to grab myself an in-range round, which is an in-range randomizer. So I'm going to grab that. As this happens to be displayed in notes, because this goes from like 0 to 127. Put that onto note. We're going to make sure this is on full as well. And then we're going to pull this all the way down to, I'm going to say E1 for the moment. Obviously we can do some other options for these ones. So let's quickly pull this. So I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom and slowly go up to E1. That's cool. If I select this onto all, what this means it's going to do is every time it receives a trigger, so we need to obviously give that a trigger. So I'm going to quickly come here and go, and I'm just going to create a copy of that. That can go into there. Every time it gets a trigger, it's going to choose a new one, he says, and I need to obviously take that out and put it into the CV override. Oh, so there we go. So there's our D1. There's that one, and that one, that one. So that one's the only one that hasn't selected yet. Hey, and now it's going to go back to the beginning again, and it's going to select something new, but it won't select that one because that's just been selected. So that's actually kind of removed from the pot. But as soon as it selects another one, that one goes back into the pot. So it could be selected again. Hey, I couldn't have set that up even better. So yeah, so there you go. But basically that won't now be set until this one, and this one's been chosen. There we go. And now we're back to the beginning again. So it goes into the randomization. That's the good thing about the all. Now it could be that you've got a randomization process going to obviously set off this randomization process. In which case I might say, hey, I'm going to set this a lot higher. So I'm going to get a lot more silence and blanks. And then every now and then I'm going to hit one of these. And that could be slightly better for you. It all comes down to your randomization process. Now, because I've got all set, these will eventually be sounded off. And as you can see, we had a few on the line in a row on a go. So there we go. So that's like another way you can obviously set the randomization process up so you're not just static all the time. And what I did previously in the example at the very beginning is I just grabbed a storing forward. Here's my storing forward. Obviously, because we've got this trig gate here, I'm going to bring this back down again to E1 for the moment. And obviously we can take that out, put that into the in. Going quite mad there. So let's turn that down to 8 notes. and then I gave it a bit of a swing as well. Last just means it's not going to repeat, but it can theoretically flip backwards and forwards in the last mode. It just means I can't select, say if I hit E1, I can't hit E1 twice in a row. I've got to select something else, and then I can go straight back to E1 because it's more randomised. But there we go. I'm just going to leave it at that for the moment. So it's quite straightforward. I say the main thing I think to do with this clap is you've got to get your body slapped turned right up, the slapper mount turned right up, and you get that nice kind of sort of click sound. I like the click sound. That one there. There's that one there. That's the one I like because it's coming via the filters. And I say you do use the bandpass filter for these because it does make quite a bit of difference, as you can hear, to the sound as we're playing around with it. And so that's quite a bit different from off of the above with the claves, because we've got the pitch on the claves that we can play around with, which affects the sounds quite a bit. And then you can use the frequency, which I refer to as narrowing it down, but hey, that's another story. So anyway, thank you for watching, and bye for now.